Welcome to Trains! Hello there, friends, and welcome to Trains Reviews. My name is Kevin, and today we're going to be doing a comparison video between Woodland Scenics Just Plug lighting system and our very own Dwarvin lighting. So stay tuned, it's gonna be lit. In the quest for greater and greater realism, modelers have taken to adding light to their layouts, whether that's via buildings, street lamps, cars, crossing signals, you name it. Now, manufacturers thought that this was a bright idea and decided to manufacture easy to install systems to lighten the load on your average railroader. So for our comparison video today, we're gonna start with Woodland Scenics, and we're gonna let their Just Plug system LED the way. Now, Woodland Scenics bases their lighting system around the Just Plug light hub, the JP5701. If you buy it from Trains, the SKU is P12069444, and price at time of filming is $15.02. Now, the light hub does have a couple different pieces in the packaging, so let's pop it out and see what we got. Come on out here. It's never easy when you're on camera. We have the instruction set, which does talk a little bit about how to network a variety of hubs together. We have mounting screws and some double-sided tape, depending on which option you like to use. If you go for the screws, there are nice little mounting holes, one on each corner. Now here's the hub itself, the light hub. We have a plug for power, a plug for control with a jumper cable in it at the moment, and then 4 plugs for lights. And each light has an individual dimmer control, so you can set just how bright or dim you want your light to be. You can also write a number on here to help you remember what it controls. For our next step, we're gonna need power. So let's take this JP5770 power supply. And if you buy it from Trains, P12069468, and price at time of filming, $19.99. Now this is a pretty basic power plug. So let's take it out of the packaging here. Now that we've got our power pack plugged in, we need to connect it to the hub. Now it does come with these handy extensions and additional connectors, but since we're not installing this on an actual layout, we can just use what it comes with. And we'll plug that in right there. And now we've got power to our light hub. So the next step after power, we need light. Now, of course, having a plugged in light hub is of no use if we don't actually have lights to go with it. So we're going to use these LED Nano lights, and they're the JP5743, a warm white. They draw 20 milliamps each. You can get warm white, cool white, bright white, just like you have different light temperatures for your home. Same idea here. If you decide to get them from trains.com, the SKU is P12069457. And it's $9.19 for one tube, which contains 2 lights. So let's go ahead and decant these from their little bottle and get them plugged in. Now I'm not gonna bother getting them out to their full extension, but for those who are curious, the cables measure 24 inches in length. So as long as you are 24 inches from your light hub to where you want your light to be, you're fine. If it's a longer distance, they do make connecting cables. And they'll give you up to 48 inches extra length, but they cost $5.85 a pop. So let's go ahead and hit on the power. And here we go. We've got some light. Now, as I mentioned before, the dimmer switches do let you control how bright they are. So there, they're almost completely off. Let's see if I can bring it up nice and slow. There you go. Ta-da! And you can have one super bright and the other not so much, and vice versa. But I think you've probably noticed our first problem here. There are only 4 plugs in this light hub. And if you've got a layout, it probably needs a lot more than that, 20, 30. So how does Woodland Scenic fix that problem? Let's find out. So now it's time to shed some light on the main limitation of the light hub. It can only power 4 lights. In order to have more than that, you need an expansion hub, which is the JP5702. If you're looking for it on the train's website, it's P12069445, and price at time of filming is $14.20. Now, Woodland Scenics, according to their handy-dandy diagram on the back of the box, recommends that you run power directly to the expansion hub, then plug numerous light hubs into each expansion hub. Now, that would give you more finite control over individual lighting, but an expansion hub is $14.20 compared to the $15.02 of the light hub. So if you don't need to individually adjust every single light, you could use the expansion hubs for a cheaper setup. That's what we're going to do here for our final comparison, since we know that you're smart folks that know how to find a deal. All right, let's go ahead and crack this box and see what all we get. We have our expansion hub, which has power in and power out control plug. 1, 2, 3, 4 plugs for sending out lighting. Just like all the others, it has spaces for mounting screws. The box comes with a pair of screws, as well as that double-sided sticky tape. It also includes 4 connector cables and our instructions. But since we're going a little off-label here with how we're setting it up, I don't think we need the instructions for this one. Now, just to have proof of our concept that it works, we have power running into the light hub, and then we use one of our 48-inch connector cables to come out of a light plug and over to our expansion hub. And we bring the power in to the expansion hub, and then we're able to run 4 individual lights off of, oh, come on now. It's hiding. It wants to be shy. Then we were able to run 4 lights off this expansion hub. And like I mentioned, we still have dimmer control, but it's going to dim and brighten all of the lights of this particular expansion hub as a unit. But now let's go ahead and build it out to get an example of what it's going to look like to run about somewhere between 20 and 30 lights. Okay, and here we go with our final product. So let's hit those lights. And everything lights up. Hooray for that. So as a basic idea, we took the light hub, we ran connecting cables to our expansion hubs, and then in the expansion hubs, we plugged in our lights. A couple of the expansion hubs I did daisy chain together, just so that I could get more than just, the 4. So all together, we've got, let's see here, 4 lights here, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. I can do math. And based on how you connect them, you can create essentially lighting districts, right? Where a whole bunch of lights are run off of the same dimmer. If you run it direct to the hub, then you have more finite control. Is that a game breaker? I don't think so. For some lights, it makes sense to have them all at the same brightness. Take street lamps, for example, or a block of office buildings. It makes sense for them to have the same lighting level. Oh, and in case you're curious how the lights themselves can be mounted, oh dear, this is a bit of a rat's nest. Each little light, there's supposed to be an adhesive that you can add so that you can stick them. Now that may be in the pack along with the double-sided tape for the blocks. So I'm sure it's around here somewhere, but that's the basic idea. And if you didn't have the double-sided tape, you could drill a hole through the layout, pull this up, glue it or tape it to the inside of your building, and then put your building back down again. So it would be a bit of a pain if you were retrofitting these lights to a layout, but if you're building from scratch and you haven't glued your buildings down yet, not the worst thing in the world. Now let's move on to taking a look at the Dwarvin lighting system. Now let's take a look at the Dwarvin Lamplighter, the DV101. We do start out at a higher price point, $99.95. However, instead of multiple expansion hubs and dimmer switches and little LEDs, we can take our fiber optic cable, trim it to our desired length, and run up to 28 lights from a single lamplighter. So let's go ahead and pop it out of the box. And we've got a little bit of instructional information here along with links to our website. And we've got a nice Facebook group as well, filled with people who have been using the lamplighter and have suggestions. And the box itself does have slots for mounting screws. They are oval slots, so you have a little bit more wiggle room in how you fasten it. And they are beveled on the edges so the screw heads can get lower down, so they're not, sticking up. This is the business end. Don't look into that with your unshielded eyes, please. And then a barrel jack on the back. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we've got our lamplighter plugged in, and then depending on the thickness of the fiber optic cable that you use, you can have up to 50 fibers at one time. To make this comparison fair, we're going to use the 1mm thickness cable, which gives us 28 individual light sources. Now, these come in a single 30-foot length, and they can be trimmed to whatever length you need. So there's no patch cables, there's no extension cables, there's no intermediate hubs or anything like that. And I think it also gives you kind of a cleaner under table look too, But I digress. Let's go ahead and get some lights going. So I've gone ahead and trimmed the DVFC 1.0/30. It's a heck of a name. The 1mm fiber optic cable. I've gone ahead and trimmed it into 28 individual pieces. And I've installed them in the lamplighter. We'll just go ahead and click the button. And now we have 28 individual points of light. So let's go ahead and come down to the end here. Now these can be easily inserted through your layout table up into an already installed building. So it's a very small 1mm hole that you need to drill, maybe a little bit more than 1mm, and just up and into the building. And you can then easily retrofit this to a layout that's already been built. If you want to increase the light intensity, you can always bring in a second fiber. These do offer a lot more customizability, I guess you could say, than the Woodland Scenics Just Plug. For example, you could warm up the end of this cable and then kind of press it against a spoon, and that will mushroom out the tip and it'll give you a broader pool of light. As they come, and I just cut these with a Swiss Army knife, as they come, they are more direct. So we offer spotlights and flood lamps for industrial buildings. where these work really well. Now here at Trains.com, we do offer both systems. So whether you like the modularity and plug-and-play nature of the Woodland Scenic Just Plug, or you happen to enjoy the flexibility and customizability of the Dwarvin Lamplighter, we've got you covered. I hope you found this video to be enlightening, and until next week, shine on.
Trains.com, making dreams come true, one train at a time.